back on the show. Welcome to my weeds of the week. Today we're going to do something a little bit different from looking at the bigger seaweeds. We're going to look at some of the tiny little things. Oh, flipping heck. Anyway, I'm not going to walk all the way. That's where I'm living and that's where my lab is, and so we'll cut directly to that. Here it is. It's the Marine Science Camp. Join one next year. It's great fun and very cheap. And you'll learn a lot. Here I am on the bench, and there's young Ben. There he is, fiddling with his cover slip. I must have a word with him about that. It could send him blind. Ah, flipping heck, there we go again. Look, I'm just going to go straight to the stage, and I'm going to try and get Sister Concepta to switch on the holy diminishing ray. Could you switch it on, please? Ah, great, thank you very much. Here we go. Now, I'm going to shrink myself down even smaller and smaller, and then walk across the stage here, climb onto the slide under the cover slip, and there we are. We're going to join the plankton now. We're going to look at some of the microscopic creatures that live under this microscope in this slide. Now, in ancient Greece, if a thing went across the sky fast, they called it a planktos, from which we get the word planet. It means wandering about, and this term was invented by a German bloke called Van Helsing, Van something or other, in 1877, I think it was. Yes, it was. Van Hensen, Victor Hensen. And there he is looking like Sister Teresa looked like when she caught a part of anatomy in the mangle the other week. Now, plankton are creatures that basically are at the mercy of wind and tide and current. They're not very good at swimming. You don't have to be small. Most of them are tiny, but they can be huge too, as you can see. Now, there's phytoplankton, which photosynthesize like plants do. There's zooplankton, which eat other creatures, and many creatures do both. There's a group called dinoflagellates that are very commonly doing that. Now, the ones we're going to look at live in a little box called a frustule made out of silicon dioxide. They do photosynthesis. They're called diatoms, and they're a major part of the phytoplankton. Now, the first one we're going to look at is this one, Cocinodiscus. As you can see, it's circular. It's got a centric diatom. It's radial symmetrical. You can see from the little dotted lines there. If you look at it as an individual, you can see in the side view it looks like a box, but you can see from that sort of right-hand side view that it looks like a little pill box, really. That's its frustule. That's its silicon dioxide box. It reproduces mostly asexually, and what happens is, unlike the song by the Spice Girls, two don't become one, one become two. And so you get a little frustule growing inside, and the lid and the base both become another one. And you get 4 when they divide, and then you get 8 when they divide. Eventually it's going to disappear up its own frustule, so something has to be done about this. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And so what they do next is really exciting. They do sexual reproduction. Now, some of them turn into eggs, and some of them turn into sperm. Here you can see an egg bigger and a sperm littler. Now the sperm are motile, and then eventually they sort of get jazzed up and go, and one of them eventually penetrates the egg in a very thrilling manner, and it starts to grow. It's now called an oxozygote. It grows a frustule, and it becomes a huge diatom again, and the whole process then starts again. I say huge, it's really microscopic, but anyway, you get 2, and then you get like that, and then 4, and then you get 8, and again, it's got smaller again now, so it does the sexual thing, and it all goes round and round again. These are really, really productive. They can double the biomass in about less than 70 hours anyway. And the next one we're going to look at is called a Rhizoselenia. It's not circular. This is called a pinnate diatom. It's bilaterally symmetrical. You can see the plane of symmetry where I've put the little dotted line in, although it's fairly obvious anyway. Now this does a clever thing. It can form mats that glue together sort of thing and sink into deep water where there's more nutrients. And it can't photosynthesize there. It's dark. It's deep down. But it can absorb nutrients. There, it's doing it now. And when it's done that, it goes back up to the top where it can photosynthesize in the light. What a clever little diatom. Now here is Bidulphia. This one you can see some photosynthetic granules in there, some chromatophores, and it's got these sticky out bits. They increase its drag in the water and help it to stop sinking. It also stores oil droplets, which have a similar function. It's named after Susanna Biddulph, who was a very famous British botanist of the early 19th century. Now, if you look at this thing on the right hand here that I'm just about to put some dotted lines round, there it is. That's my favourite one of all. Now, this one's called Bacillaria paxillifera. That's what it's called. It's a stack of frustules all stuck together. And it looks like a carpenter's rule when it's folded up, hence it's got a common name like that. One of the only diatoms that does. But look what it does when you give it its head, as it were, and it does this astonishing thing. The rods all slide against one another, and it extends slowly and then contracts again and makes its stately progress through the ocean, looking more like an alien thing than anything I've ever seen in a film. It just goes to show the real world is usually a bit more bizarre than we can actually imagine. Now, why does it do this? Well, there's a good answer to that. Nobody knows, but it's suggested that it might expose it to more nutrients and make it more efficient and that sort of thing, absorbing nutrients and so on. But then why is it the only one that does it? How it does it is a bit more clear. The rods are stuck together with cytoplasm that join each other, and in the cytoplasm there's contractile proteins called actin bundles. That's the same thing as is in your muscles. They contract and do it in a steady progression, and the rods slide against one another. What controls it all is a mystery. Anyway, let's surf! Yee-hoo! Let's pitch that gate! Now, why is this important? Well, is it important? Yes, of course it is. Why? Why? Tell me. Why? Well, I'm going to tell you. First of all, 98% of the habitable space on Earth is ocean or sea. 50% of the photosynthesis on Earth is done by phytoplankton. 20% is done by the bigger seaweeds. And that means 70% of the oxygen in the atmosphere has come out of marine sources. So, I don't have to breathe, I'm clockwork. But most of us do. Most of you do anyway. So let's look after it. Stop chucking plastic and stuff in it and stop eating all the fish. Thank you for watching. Read the Dalefort blog for more Nunzilla and a lot more besides. Thank you.